Hi there, I'm Rob Bennis. I'm the supervisor at the cafe at the Glen Ellen Public Library. Welcome into our kitchen. Today I'm going to demonstrate for you how to make cake pops, and specifically holiday cake pops. This is a great activity for the entire family. It is super easy to make, really fun for everyone to get involved in, and very good to eat. They're very tasty, and we're going to make different types of cake pops. We're going to make vanilla cake pops, chocolate cake pops, and red velvet cake pops. And it's a couple step process to do it. First, you have to make a cake. Secondly, you have to make frosting. And thirdly, you have to dip the cake pops, or the cake balls, into melted chocolate, and then you can decorate them. Now, there's two ways that you can go about making the cake. One is super easy. You can go to the store and buy a box cake mix. Any kind is fine. Betty Crocker, Duncan Hines, and you can just follow the manufacturer's instructions on how to make the cake. I'm sure a lot of you have done this before. Or you can make the cake from scratch, which I'm going to do here. I'm going to show you how to do that. And this recipe will be posted online, so you can find the instructions on how to make the cake. We're also going to make our own frosting, but again, you could take an easier way to go about it. You could go buy pre-made frosting, which will just work just as fine. So first off, let's make our cake. My recipe doesn't make a very large cake, and you don't need a very large cake because you get about anywhere between 30 and 40 cake pops out of one small sheet pan, which is about this size. So first off, you have to mix your dry ingredients, and what this recipe calls for is 1 2/3 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. I like using unbleached flour. I just think the less chemicals that you have in it, the better. And you can use any type of flour you want. If you wanted to use whole wheat, gluten-free, which is a lot of flours are 1-for-1 mix, you could use that as well. So you take 1 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour and you put that into your bowl. You also then take 1 teaspoon of salt. Do not use kosher salt because kosher salt is very coarse, and it will not flavor the batter as well as just kind of sea salt or just regular table salt. So 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You also need 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Now, we use here at the cafe aluminum-free baking powder, and the brand we use is Argo baking powder. If you've ever eaten a muffin or a piece of cake, even cookies that might have a kind of a tinny taste to it, that's because those baking powders have aluminum in them. It's not harmful to you, but it does have this aftertaste. So we prefer to use aluminum-free baking powder. So it's 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Also, we use a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda in the recipe. So you want to put that in a bowl, and you just want to kind of stir it around a little bit, just to incorporate all the ingredients together. The next step is to get your butter and sugar creamed. So this recipe calls for 1/2 cup of unsalted butter. You could use salted butter, and if you did, you wouldn't add any salt to the dry mix, but I always prefer to use unsalted butter just because I like adding salt to the batter itself. So it's 1/2 cup, which is 1 stick of butter, and 1 cup of granulated sugar. You put that into the bowl with a paddle. And what you want to do is you want to mix, start off on slow. If you did it too fast, it would just kind of like fly out all the sugar. So what you're doing here is you're creaming the butter and the sugar together. And you want to do that for about 2 minutes. So after the butter starts to break up, you can increase the speed a little bit. the butter starts to break up into pieces. It's starting to get worked into the sugar. If I could show you, I'll try. Where are you, butter? See how it's working a little bit? Okay. So the butter is creamed. If you can see, it's kind of like all mashed together. It's called creaming the butter. Now what you want to do is you're going to take one egg that is at room temperature. I'm going to add that to the creamed butter. You also have 2 tablespoons of pure vanilla. You want to add that to the mixture. Now you want to turn it up a little bit to really incorporate it at high speed until it's all combined. Now you want to stop for a minute to scrape down the sides because some of the butter does get stuck on the sides and it's not mixing around very well. Okay. Put that in. I'm going to whip it around again. If you can see, let's see if you can see this, how it's getting whipped around. So now you want to start adding the dry mixture slowly on low speed to the wet mixture until it's combined. And you also have 1 cup of whole milk. So add about half of the batter, or half of the dry mix, about half of the milk. Let that mix up a little bit. You can add the rest of the dry mix. And you can add the rest of the milk. Again, you want to maybe stop for a minute and scrape the bowl. See if there's, make sure there's no dry, any flour on the bottom, any flour on the paddle. Mix around a little bit more. Make sure there's no lumps. Okay, that looks good. So your oven should be at 350 degrees. I forgot to tell you, preheat the oven to 350 degrees. You take your pan, you have your pan. I use parchment paper, but you could also use a spray if you want to get it out of the pan more easily. I'm going to just shake off all the batter that's on the paddle. So it's nice and whipped together. I'm going to check it again. Now you just want to pour the batter into the pan. Scrape the sides. So you get the majority of it out, just like that. Now you just want to maybe just smooth the batter out a little bit. into the oven it goes. Now we'll bake this cake for about 30 to 35 minutes, depending on your oven and the temperature. Ovens, bake differently. So I set it for about 30 minutes, and then we'll check it at the 30-minute mark. We'll put a toothpick in it to see if it comes out dry, and if it does, then we'll take it out and we'll let it cool. So let's take a break, and I'll see you in about 30 minutes. Hi, we're back in the kitchen. My cake is in the oven. It's probably got about another 15 minutes to go, but I thought that we can make our frosting right now. It's super easy to make frosting. We're going to start with 7 tablespoons of butter, not 1. 7 tablespoons of unsalted butter that is at room temperature. You're going to put that in your mixing bowl. Come on out. Using a paddle again. Starting on low. You want to cream it up. Let me just start whipping it around. And to that, you're going to add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla. You want to wait until your butter is creamy. It takes just a couple minutes, maybe about 2 minutes. So again, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla, 2 to 3 tablespoons of either heavy cream, whole milk. If you want to use skim milk, you can, or half and half. And 1 3/4 cup of confectioner's sugar, also known as powdered sugar. You want to stop the mixture again once in a while just to scrape down the sides, because the butter just gets basically plastered to the side of the mixing bowl. So you just want to spread it down, turn it on again. It's creamy. You want to put it on slow a little bit, and you want to start adding your confectioner's sugar. Vanilla, and then the milk. I'd add the milk slowly, because if you add too much, the frosting will be too liquid. So you want it to have some consistency to it. You can slowly add the milk. You guys, it's getting like frosting. I can see some frosting or some powdered sugar down at the bottom. So again, you want to scrape the bowl so you get all of the sugar out. Okay, and then you want to turn it on again. So it's a little lumpy. Just add a little bit more milk. And you want to beat this for a full 3 minutes on high speed. Okay, so it's been 3 minutes since we've been beating the frosting ingredients. So let's take a look at it. It looks pretty good. Looks like frosting. You can see it. It's all beaten up nicely. No more lumps. And you can see it's nice and light. And you know, you should always taste your food, so it's like buttercream. That's all it is. It's very light and airy. So it's very nice. So we have to wait for our cake to be done and to cool. So you can just take your the frosting and reserve it. You know, put it into a container, into a bowl, whatever you want to use, and you can store it in the refrigerator. What we want to do with the cake, and I have about about 11 more minutes, is to let the cake thoroughly cool off. And you can make the cake like today, and then you can make your cake pops tomorrow instead of doing it all in one day, because it does take a little while for your cake to cool off. So I will check back with you in a little bit. So my cake is about ready, almost done. And there goes the buzzer. Let's check it out. So I'm going to get a toothpick. I'm going to bring it out. As you can see, it's nice and brown. It's actually starting to come away from the sides, which is a sign of being done. And I put my toothpick in, and it's completely dry. So this cake is baked, if you want to say that. So I am also going to make a red velvet cake, and I'm also going to make a chocolate cake. I'm just going to follow the manufacturer's instructions. I'm not going to do this on tape here for you guys to see that. Just a quick tip I forgot to mention. This pan, you can make your cake like in a 9-inch spring form pan, or you can make it in a 9x9 pan. Any type of pan that you have, you want to make your cake in, you can do it. It doesn't have to be a sheet pan like I have here. And if you're using if you're making just a white vanilla cake and you wanted to make it like a red velvet color, you can just get some red dye and add about 2 tablespoons of dye to the batter, and it would turn it red. And that's how you do that. So we're gonna let this cake completely cool down, and then I'm gonna make these other 2 cakes, and then we'll regroup to form, add the frosting to our cake. I'll show you how to do that, and then we will make the cake pops, the cake balls, and then we'll decorate them. So see you in a few minutes. Okay, well, my cakes have cooled, and we're going to now combine the cake with the frosting we made. I also made a red velvet cake out of the box. That we had, just following the manufacturer's instructions and making it, and this would be just fine. This was the vanilla cake we baked. So let's start by mixing this one together. Since I'm at the cafe and I'll probably use these cake balls in the display, I'm going to use gloves, single-use gloves, which we always use in the cafe. I generally do wear a mask as well, but I'm back in the back kitchen, and I want to talk a little bit freely with you guys, so that's why I'm not wearing the mask now, but I usually do. And we always do wear gloves. Now you can wear a glove at home too if you want. That's entirely up to you. But I do recommend wearing gloves when working with ready-to-eat foods, just in case, just to be safe. So here's the frosting we made, which yielded about 1 cup of frosting. And again, I will provide recipes for making the frosting and the cake. So first thing we do is we take the frosting and we put it into our mixing bowl. Okay. Next, you take the cake and you want to crumble it on top of the frosting. So you just want to kind of break it up. You don't want to have any big lumps in it, because the lumps will not make the cake balls very smooth. They'll be lumpy. So let's smush this together. And you can do the entire cake. You can just really get your hands into it and break it up. You know, this is kind of something fun that the kids could do. What little boy or girl doesn't like to play food with their hands, play with their food, so you can let them break up the cake, and I'm sure they would do a great job in doing that. Now this red velvet cake, it's a little bit bigger, as you can see, to this cake. It's probably about twice the size. So I am going to add a little bit more frosting when we get to that step. So let me break this up. Okay, well my cake is now nicely broken up. Let me show you real quick. It's all crumbled up. It's sitting on top of the frosting. So I'm using my paddle. Put that on. Put it down. And on low, you want to slowly mix the two together until it combines and gets pretty well mixed up. You know, it doesn't take that long. And you can stop, you can test it, you know, and see if there's any frosting on the bottom that didn't get mixed in. And it looks like it's pretty good, nicely mixed. So it kind of looks like cookie dough, actually. So it's really firm and it's very moldable. So from here is another point where you can get the kids involved. So you get a cookie sheet, and you can either use spoons, or the easy way to do it is if you have scoops, different types of scoops. I have two different size scoops, if you can see that, bigger, smaller, because what I want to do is I want to make some snowmen cake pops later on. So I want a bottom and a top snowman like this. So all you can do is you just take your cookie dough or your cake pop mix. You can just kind of form it in the ball, put it in, and you just scoop it out. And you make little balls like this. And then you could use the big one to make larger ones, because these large ones we can make, I have ideas to make like ornaments, cake balls that look like ornaments. If you wanted to use a spoon, you could just use a spoon by just taking some of the dough and making a hand like that right away. So after you scoop the couple out, actually if you want to do the whole thing, you should just do it right away. You want to take what is just a scoop, and what you want to do is you want to roll it in your hand, so you can kind of create, you know, the roundness of the cake pop. It's a two-step process where you do this initial roll, and then we're going to let it sit in the fridge. You can let it sit in the fridge for 1 hour, or 2 hours, I'm sorry, 2 hours, or you can put it in the freezer for an hour. And then after that, you take the cake pop balls out and re-roll them again to try to get them as circular as you possibly can. So let's try one of the bigger ones. You know, you just kind of roll in your hand. I use my top hand as the roller and my bottom hand as the base. You're not pressing very hard. It's just very loose. It's just rolling the ball. And you know, you can make these as big or as small as you want. I wouldn't make them too big. These are pretty good size ones. You know, so if you wanted to, I mean, here's one that I did. You could break it in half very easily. And roll it into. So I was talking about like a snowman before, a snowman cake pop. That would be kind of big. you know, kind of be like this. It's actually kind of big, but you know, you can roll them. You know, you can take a bigger one. You could actually make them even, you know, as small as you want. You take this half one, you can break that one in half. You can roll it. So this could be like the snowman's head on top of another cake pop. So it would kind of look like this before it's dipped. Okay. So I'm going to roll out the rest of my cookie dough and we'll be back. So we are now going to mix together the red velvet cake with our frosting. And as I mentioned earlier, this cake is about twice the size as the vanilla cake. So we're going to use a little bit more frosting. We use about 1 cup for the vanilla cake. We're going to use 2 cups for this cake, and I'm using a pre-made frosting. This is a 16-ounce container, which is 2 cups. Now the thing with red velvet, you know, it's red, obviously. This frosting is white. So if we just add white frosting to this, it might, you know, dilute the color. It might, you know, not be as nicely red as we want it to be. So what you want to do is get some dye. And if you can see this is just some dye that you can buy at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It's really inexpensive. It's like $2, and this stuff goes a long way. So what you want to do is you just want to add a couple drops of the dye to the frosting. So it's white frosting, and you know, we'll start with 3 drops. Put it in, and you can get your spatula, mix it around. Starts to change color. Looks like it's going to be a little bit too light, so I'm just going to add a couple more drops. Add like 1, 2, 3 drops. Mix it around a little bit more. Make sure you get the bottom of the bowl because it does stick on there. It's still kind of pinkish, so I'm going to add 3 more drops. And this dye is just made out of high fructose corn syrup. It's edible. Just mix it around. A little bit red. No pink, so actually just a tad more. I really want it to be red. Nice red color when we do our cake pops. So it's turned to a nice red. So now I'm going to do the same process as I did with the white cake by just crumbling, and I'm using gloves. This dye will stain really bad. It'll stain your fingers for a few days, and if you get it in your clothes, it's probably going to be ruined. So I'm going to take off my parchment paper underneath the cake so it doesn't stick to the pan, and you're just going to crumble this again. So it's the same thing as the white cake, just crumbling it in, and then mix it up, and then you can get your scoopers and you can scoop out little balls. You can mold the trees if you want. I really like doing the red velvet cake for ornaments. Are really nice to do. So I won't let you watch me break all this up because we kind of did with the white cake. So I'll check back with you in a little bit. Okay, so my red velvet is all mixed up with the frosting. It turned red, so I'm just using another scoop. Take some out. Put it on the pan. That's all you have to do. And again, then you pick it up, roll it in your hand. This is when I really encourage you wearing gloves. If you want to do the red velvet, because you can see these gloves are turning kind of red. So they will make a mess. Again, we're just going to roll them once now, as best as we can. Put them in the freezer for 1 hour, or the refrigerator for 2 hours, and then re-roll them. You know, if you really wanted to, you could put them in the fridge, you know, overnight, and then when you wanted to re-roll them again the next day, just take them out for a little bit until they kind of warm up and get to not room temperature, but just warm up enough so that you can roll them into a nicer round ball. And again, if you want to make presents or anything, you know, you can just scoop out one, get some paddles or whatever you might be able to use at home, and you can form it into a little kind of square, into a box. Turn it around the other way. And then it forms into, you know, like it'll be a little box, like a little present, and then we can decorate it later. But red, I really like to use the red velvet cake for cake balls, cake pops, to make ornaments. Really good for ornament making. So it's really sticky right now, which is okay, but once it goes into the freezer and hardens up, then we'll be able to work with it a lot better. So I'm going to finish up this batch here, and we'll meet again. Okay, so I've taken out the cake pop balls of the vanilla version out of the refrigerator. They were in the fridge actually overnight, and I've let them sit out for about an hour to come to room temperature. And if you grab them now, you know, they're a little bit, you know, they have some give to them, so you can roll them. If you take them out right away of the fridge or the freezer, they're rock hard and you can't re-roll them. So all you want to do is just pick up the cake pop ball again, and you want to roll it in your hand again. And this time you want to put a little bit more pressure on it because it's a little bit harder. And what you're looking for is more of a real ball now, you know, something that's very round and smooth. So you want to put a little pressure on it, and it comes out pretty nice. Let me see if there's an odd shaped one. Here's kind of an odd shaped one. You got to put in your hand and you just roll it around. Again, I'm using like my right hand. I'm right-handed, so I'm using my right hand, and my left hand I'm just kind of having it stable a little bit when I'm cupping my hand, having the cake pop ball in it, and then using my other hand and moving it around real quickly, and it starts to get into a little bit of a better shape. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, like a marble or anything like that, but you know, just do the best you can. So, you know, it comes out pretty nice. So I'm going to do that to all of these, and then I'm also going to do them to the red velvet ones that we made. Those are in the cooler as well. And I'll let them come out for about an hour, let them rest, warm up to room temperature. For the ones that are shaped like the Christmas trees, you know, these are fine the way they are. They're kind of irregular. Christmas trees are irregular, so we can let that be. The ones that that are going to be presents shaped, you know, you can just kind of play with it with your fingers. It's almost like Play-Doh, a little bit harder, you know, hard Play-Doh, and you're just going to shape it into a present-looking sort of cake pop. Just playing around with it. Again, I'm wearing gloves. Just playing around with it, getting it how I want it. You know, you could use the table to give it a flat edge if you want. Christmas trees are fine. So I'm going to roll the rest of these out, and then after this we'll start dipping. We'll temper some chocolate, and then we'll start dipping them and decorating them. Okay, we are about to start decorating our cake pops, and I just want to go over some of the fun ingredients that I picked up. And all of this stuff can be bought at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. You'd be amazed. They have a section specifically for cake pop decorating. So, one of the things that you might want to buy or have is a cake pop stand. So this is really handy when you're making cake pops that are going to be standing up, because you can put them in after you're done, and it's easy to get to, and they don't fall around. If you don't want one of these, you could kind of get a foam block, which is like what they put the flowers in, and you can just drill some holes for the cake pops to be stand up in like this. However, if the candy or if the chocolate drips on it, it does stain it. This is washable, obviously. So there's a cake pop stand, and then there's just tons of things that we can add to our cake pops. These are shimmer mixed pearls. This is pearl glitter crystals. Here's some other candy stars and different colored candies. Here's some googly eyes that we can use for reindeers. Holiday sprinkles, all different types of holiday sprinkles in here. You know, red sprinkles. I'm going to do something with some Oreos to make a hat for a snowman cake pop. I also have some edible gold, which is really nice for a dramatic presentation. And then there's a bunch of different type of cake pop sticks that you could use. These are called bling pop sticks. They're actually for cake pops, so they're just fake jewels on them. The cake pop is going to go on this end. There's lollipop sticks, all different colors, so you know, red and green are nice in there that you could use for the holiday. And then there's just some plain white ones that we use as well. Other fun things we can use are pretzels, which are going to be made into reindeer antlers pretzel, and you know, just breaking it up into different shapes that you can kind of get like a little antler out of. We'll do that. And then there's shimmer gel and decorating gel, and all of this is all edible. It's all made out of corn syrups and stuff like that. So squeeze bottles for decorating. So that's what it is. Also, I have wafers that I'll show you on when a cake pop can stand on itself instead of being standing up. The most important thing is the type of chocolate you use. Now, we're going to be dipping our cake balls into white chocolate, and this is white couverture chocolate chips. Now, you can get white chocolate at the regular food store, but they will not melt properly. They'll get really, it'll be really thick, and you won't be able to dip the cake pop ball into the chocolate. So this couverture chocolate has a lot of extra fat in it. It has cocoa solids and milk solids with a total fat of 36%. So I've tempered some chocolate here. You can see this is really nice and thin. And I'm doing it over a double boiler, which I'm sure everyone has. One of the most important things about dipping cake pops in here is having your cake pop balls in the freezer. They need to be frozen when you're dipping it in. If they're not, they will dissolve into the chocolate. So let's get going, and let's make some snowmen cake pops. Let me get my cake pops out of the freezer here. So I have some cake pops I've taken out. I generally don't work with this many out, but I don't want to keep running back and forth to the freezer. So, you know, take out about 3, what you want to do. So, let me put my gloves on. So first we're going to make a snowman with a top hat. So I'm going to take one of my cake balls, and I'm just going to use a white stick this time. And what I do is I put the cake pop ball down on the surface, and I press the stick into it. Don't go all the way through because you'll crack it. So it's like this. Okay? You just take the cake pop first here, and this is for the hat. Just take an Oreo. I'm going to twist off the Oreo like this. And here's a mini Oreo. I'm going to take a little bit of chocolate. It's going to act like a glue. Put it on there. And then I'm going to put it on the top of the hat. Like this. So that'll set up in a minute. Here's my cake pop ball. I'm going to dip it into the chocolate. You want to kind of turn it around. And get in here. Now you want to get kind of the excess off. So you just want to gently tap and the chocolate will come off. So here you have your cake pop. Dip the chocolate, just want to get some more of it off. Now you want to kind of decorate it. So actually we want to let this cool just a tad so we don't get it to run a little bit. So let's do one more. We'll do a double snowman. So here I have the cake pop. I want to glue another cake pop to it. So I'm going to add some frosting or some melted chocolate on top, like this. Okay. I'm going to take a smaller one. I'm going to smush it together. Okay, so you have this. It looks like it's going to be like a snowman. Okay. Use another white stick. I'm going to push it in. We have our snowman. If it moves around, that's okay. You can just put it back. Keep that one there for a second. Let's check our other one out. So here's our, what'll be a snowman. Now, I want to decorate it with some eyes, so I just have some decorating gel. It could be black. This is actually violet. I ran out of black, so I'm using a violet. So you just want to put an eye on it. Okay, like that. And then let's see. I want to get some colored ones here for a nose. I'm going to get a red one. The red one, so I'm going to get a little bit of this is where the kids might have some fun decorating. Just put a little chocolate on top. Take my hat. Here you have kind of a snowman, cake pop. So here's the double one. So this is kind of secured on. Should stay on. Let's see. So we want to dip it in the chocolate. It'll come out kind of thick. You want to be careful with this one because now it's a double. You don't want it to fall off, obviously. You just want to kind of turn it around. Just let it drip off by itself. Okay, so here you have like starting with the snowman, so we'll let that set up a little bit. Now, see, these are starting to get a little bit warm already, so it has to be kind of careful on how you do this. So here is one of our presents that we've done. So let's try this. We'll use a red stick this time. We'll put it in. Okay, dip it in the chocolate. Tap it down. What we're going to do with this is we're going to decorate it with some red gel that looks like a ribbon. Okay, we'll let this set up for a minute. So let's go back to our other snowman. What we want to do is we want to put some eyes on it. And we want to put a nose. Let's get a nose on here. We'll do a different color nose. It's still kind of warm. So we get an orange one. Oh. Still kind of warm. And then we're going to use our red dye, red gel, for a scarf. We just want to go around. He's wearing a scarf, and we could put a top hat on him too. You're kind of a little bit of a snowman. Cake pop. Okay. Put that in your stand. Let that dry. You could also have some that stand up. Well, you could push another stick. Dip it in the chocolate. Tap it to get all the excess off as much as you can. Okay, and then say we wanted to sprinkle it with some holiday sprinkles. So this one is going to be standing up, so you just has some stars in it and stuff. You just shake it on. And then you can take a wafer, a chocolate wafer, and you stand it on it. Move it around to secure it. Tap it down, and then your cake pop will stand up. After it dries, you can put it in a little cupcake holder. So So it kind of goes like that. You can see that. So it's up in there. We get some dye on my finger, so it got on the stick there. So let's look at our little present we have here. So I'm going to use the red again. You know, so you can just kind of like pretend you're wrapping it. You can start at the bottom. Like that, and then if you wanted to, you could, you know, take a yellow ball, candy ball. You drop it in the middle. Here's like a cake pop present. You put it in your stand. We got like a snowman cake pop, a big one. There's another snowman cake pop. There's like a cake pop that's upside down. So, okay, so I'm going to show you how to make a Christmas tree cake pop. So we have our white chocolate still, and I have some green dye that I'm just going to add some green dye to the chocolate. Stir it around. It looks pretty pale. So we're just going to add some more because we want it to be really a dark green, like a Christmas tree. One thing you never want to do is you don't want to get any water inside your chocolate while you're tempering it, because what it'll do, it'll seize it up and it would be ruined. So you just got to be careful about doing that. So I always do the Christmas trees last, because by adding the food dye, it kind of makes the chocolate a little bit thicker. Okay, so here's like one of our Christmas trees we made. So you just take the stick, you just cram it in there, and you dip the tree, the cake pop, into the green. It's really thick, which is fine, because we want it to be thick in order to kind of simulate some branches that I'll show you how we can do that. Again, you want to tap it on the side of the cup or your double boiler. You can see that. Okay. So then what you want to do is you want to let this set up just a little bit. And it kind of looks, you know, it kind of looks like a tree. So you can take the toothpick and just like, you know, mess up the frosting a little bit to make it look like a tree. It kind of looks like a tree. All right. So then you can take some of your decorations, like a star, put it on top of the tree, and then you have ornaments, right? So maybe we could use some of our colored pearl ones. So you just want to drop them on. it'll stick right away. Basically, maybe you can put a little push on it and make them stay better. And the frosting is still warm. Just kind of decorate it. So there's your Christmas tree cake pop. Okay, so we're gonna make one last cake pop. We're gonna make some reindeer. I'm gonna use a red velvet cake pop. And I forgot to mention, before you put your stick into the cake pop ball, dip it into the chocolate. When we were doing the white ones, I forgot to do that, but dip it in a little bit first. It kind of acts as kind of like a glue for you. So you just put it in, and then dip it in. Use chocolate. This time I have dark chocolate. I've tempered. And this is Ghirardelli chocolate, 60% dark cocoa. It's super smooth, melts perfectly. It's a lot better than the white chocolate. The white chocolate is really nice. Again, this is from Cocoholic. It's called the White Couverture. I believe it was about $20 for a 2-pound bag. And the Ghirardelli, you can buy that off of Amazon. 5-pound boxes up to 20-pound boxes. So you dip the chocolate in, and you want to tap it again, as I'm doing here, to get some of the excess off. Okay. So it's really nice and smooth. So for the reindeer, I have some googly eyes. Big eyes, which are fun. So you just want to stick them on. Okay. So here's some of the pretzels that we cracked. You could use anything, any one you want, put on for the antlers. So you just have to kind of dip it in the chocolate a little bit. Press it on. Chocolate acts like glue. Okay, kind of looks like a mouse a little bit, but and then you have the nose. So we're making Rudolph. So just put a little dab of chocolate there. And there you have like a reindeer. So that's with a red velvet one. Let's do another one. So again, you want to dip your stick into the chocolate. Put your cake pop ball down. Give you some leverage. Push it in. If you get some chocolate on the stick, you can just wipe it right off. Okay. Put it in. You guys can't see this very well. But you put it in, and you just kind of twirl it around until it coats all of the cake pop. Okay. And you're just tapping it. This time we'll do it when we're standing it up instead of we'll put a wafer on it. And I have some chocolate ones here. They make wafers in all different colors: red, white, green, chocolate colored. So spin it around, and then you take the wafer. I don't know if you can see that. Here's the wafer, and you press it down on it. Okay, so eventually will start to set. So let's see if we get some big antlers on this one. Let's do it a different way. So may have to hold it there for a little bit. See if it'll stay. Another big one. Let's see. It'll stay. Okay. I'll get a little chocolate for the eye. No, it's a little cross-eyed. Okay. And get another nose. We have another reindeer. So now this one can stand up, and you can get a little cupcake. You know, these come in all different colors too: silver, white, gold. It sits in your thing like that. So those are some ideas on how to decorate cake pops. Real fun ways. There's so many ways you can do it. You can make them look like ornaments. It's endless on what you can do. So I hope that you've enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, give me a call here at the cafe, and our direct line is 630-790-6722. And thanks a lot for watching. Happy holidays. Hope to see you here at the cafe. Bye. Oh, see, some flew out. But that's okay. And it's just taken, you know, whipped around. Oops. Sorry about that. Okay. There's always technical difficulties in the kitchen. Julie Child even had that. You can see this. I hope I don't drop the camera again. Okay, well this one can make it to the bloopers.